Chapter 776. Unable to be serious. Chen Guo was someone who did the things that she said she would. After realizing this problem, she prepared to proactively resolve it, so she immediately called all of the members together to discuss their thoughts on the matter. As a result, the first meeting convened by Team Happy's owner began. When everyone got the news and heard that Chen Guo wanted to hold a meeting, everyone's expression became strange. Chen Guo didn't really feel like the boss. She felt more like the team's nanny, dealing with all of the odd jobs. Cough, the boss wants to hold a meeting. Everyone, please try to take this a bit more seriously. Seeing that everyone wanted to laugh, Yishu hastily gave everyone a reminder. As a result, everyone sat up straight as Yishu asked the employee, who told them the news, did the boss say where she was going to hold the meeting? Oh, the room over there, the employee replied. Can we fit? We've moved chairs into it. The employee answered. She had prepared especially for this. Everyone looked each other in the eye. Yishu nodded his head, tell the boss that we'll be there immediately. The employee left. Everyone continued to look at each other incredulously. What does she want? Wei Chen couldn't help but ask. Won't we know once we go? Tang Ru got up and said. They left the practice room together and went over to the area where Chen Guo lived in. That area was separate from the rest of the second floor, but it wasn't very large. The living room felt very crowded with so many people squeezing inside. Chen Guo was already in the room. She appeared very serious and nodded her head at seeing everyone arrive. Everyone's here. The tea table in the living room was moved aside and the sofa was used. Along with other seats taken from the internet cafe, everyone had their own seat. Everyone sit down, Chen Guo called out and they took their seats. Chen Guo looked at all of them one by one. Midway through, she paused for a moment and seemed to hesitate, but she quickly moved on. Everyone was staring at her curiously. They noticed her pause and looked at who her gaze had paused on, the person sitting on the right of Yishu, Su Mucheng. Why are you here too? Go away. You're an enemy. Yishu shooed Su Mucheng away. Oh, is that what's happening? Su Mucheng immediately got up. Then why are there enough seats? Wei Chen suspected. It meant that Su Mucheng had been calculated into the planning. Yeah, Su Mucheng was also baffled. She's trying to sow dissension, Wei Chen suddenly shouted. You're retarded, Yishu looked down in disdain. Then, Su Mucheng discovered the issue, Mo Fan isn't here. It's normal for him not to be here. He's not a team member, no, Wei Chen said. I see that he practices very hard every day. Su Mucheng had been sitting together with Mo Fan, so she knew quite a lot about him. I'm sure he's already felt that the practice content is the real deal, Yishu said. He's not planning on practicing in order to become an expert, so he can take revenge, right? Tang Ru said. That's possible. Yishu thought of Mo Fan's personality and couldn't eliminate that possibility. I'll go exterminate him. Steam Bun got up and even picked up his chair. Force isn't the answer, Yishu said. Are you even enough by yourself? There's concealed light too. Steam Bun grabbed Luo Ji. Even though Steam Bun knew Luo Ji's real name, he was still used to calling him by his in-game ID. The two interacted with other fairly often, so it was a habit now. He wasn't like Yishu and the others, who didn't see concealed light often in the game, so their familiarity with Luo Ji in real life was greater than their familiarity with his character in the game. As a result, it felt more natural for everyone else to call Luo Ji by his real name. I won't fight. Luo Ji heard Steam Bun's words and was scared witless. He frantically dodged Steam Bun's evil clutches. It's just a joke, and Wen Yi laughed. It might not be for a certain someone, Luo Ji emphasized. It wasn't like he couldn't tell that it was a joke, but it was hard to tell if Steam Bun was actually joking or not. Okay, stop fighting, Su Mucheng said, I'll go over and get him. I'll see if he wants to come or not. Su Mucheng left after saying those words. Wei Chen immediately looked towards Chen Guo with a smile. Boss, if there's anything you want to say, you should say it now. It doesn't matter if that guy's here or not. I'm afraid his sour face will ruin your mood. What's that smell? Yishu suddenly interrupted. What? Everyone was puzzled. You guys don't smell the scent of a dog kissing up to his master? Yishu asked. Everyone laughed. Even Chen Guo couldn't help but laugh too. She wanted this to be serious, but it looked like a serious atmosphere just didn't fit with this team. Just look at that other day, about how such a serious topic, which crushed her heart, eventually devolved into a verbal fight between two guys. She didn't know what to say. Sometimes, Chen Guo just couldn't understand. Whenever Yishu said anything serious, she wasn't sure if he was actually trying to tell everyone something or if it was just nonsense. Just the other day, Yishu said that those words were to question themselves on why they wanted to become pro players. It sounded very logical, but Wei Chen came over and turned it into a quarrel. Yishu also followed the flow and began quarreling too. Chen Guo couldn't help but suspect that those words were just a fluke. This god usually seemed to be indifferent and carefree, but from time to time, he would suddenly jump out and say very serious words. However, no one could properly digest the information in time before he returned to his usual carefree state, making everyone doubt whether or not he was just messing with them. Can't this guy just act normally for once? Chen Guo felt like she couldn't be like him. She needed to be proper, but now she realized that it was quite difficult to say anything serious to this team. The atmosphere was never right. She had initially been trying hard, but not long afterwards, she was laughing alongside everyone. We're in a meeting. Everyone take this more seriously, Wei Chen shouted. If there's anything you want to say, you should say it, Yishu said. It mainly has to do with what happened that day with Little Ming. That event made me seriously think about our current situation. I'm sure everyone already knows about our team's strength, so I won't talk about it. I want to talk about the environment on the outside. City H is Excellent Era's home field. We're right across street from Excellent Era. We can be considered as part of Excellent Era's core region. Countless Excellent Era fans walk around here. My internet cafe's business is indebted to them, but now, we've created a team that will need to fight to the death with Excellent Era, so in the majority of the people's eyes, we're an evil villain. We might receive curses and insults from numerous Glory fans. I've been running this internet cafe for so many years and I've streamed their matches before and understand what the fans can be like. Chen Guo said. Oh, this problem, Wei Chen nodded his head. The old soldier was the first to speak. This is certainly a problem. As for myself, I won't be affected in any way. When this senior was still in the scene, these brats were still playing who knew what lame game. My worry is that you babies will cry when everyone points their fingers at you. Point their fingers? Middle finger. We can just return the favor. Just like this, Steamed Bun immediately pointed both his middle fingers at Wei Chen. Okay, it's not a problem for Steamed Bun. What about you guys? Wei Chen said. I think it's more fun like that, Tang Ru smiled. How aggressive, Wei Chen praised. He turned to Chao Yifan. What about you? I think I can deal with it. Chao Yifan didn't say too much. Even though he was an invisible player, he still came from a champion team, so his experience was very different from most other rookies. What about you two? Wei Chen looked at Luo Jian and Wen Yi. Me? I have enough on my hands with those summoned creatures. I don't have the energy to pay attention to anything else, Luo Ji said gloomily. Everyone laughed. Whenever Luo Ji summoned a bunch of creatures, he would turn into a mess and it would be a huge spectacle. Finally, and Wen Yi said, I don't think this is a bad thing. As an unknown team, we can ride on Excellent Era's fame and get more attention that way. Whoa, you little punk, Wei Chen was speechless. He didn't bother asking Yishu. If Yishu was bothered by stuff like this, how could he have become a god? A god had to stand over who knew how many butthurt fans. He had even won the championships 3 times. He wasn't a senior who would be easily affected by fans. Everyone's prepared. I can relax then. My plan is this. Chen Guo didn't wait for Mo Fan and just started talking. At the practice room, when Su Mucheng returned, she saw Mo Fan playing the game as usual. There's a meeting going on. Why aren't you going? Su Mucheng went back to her seat and asked Mo Fan. Mo Fan turned his head to look at Su Mucheng. They had been sitting together for several days now. It was hard to avoid contact. In Su Mucheng's eyes, Mo Fan was practicing diligently, but in Mo Fan's eyes, this girl was just there as a pretty face. She never did any proper business or training. While everyone was practicing hard, if she wasn't watching a TV show, she was playing some stupid game. She would even sometimes watch a show while playing. I'm not going. Mo Fan glanced at Su Mucheng and then turned his head to continue playing the game. His reply said nothing. How's your practice going? Su Mucheng wasn't going to bother arguing with him. Seeing that he was practicing, she asked casually. Good, Mo Fan said. Would you like me to help you practice? Su Mucheng asked. Mo Fan turned his head to look at Su Mucheng. His expression was filled with disdain. You. I can't. Su Mucheng smiled like a flower. Come. Mo Fan returned to the city and went to the arena. Su Mucheng had already set up a room. She was using one of Yi Shu's alternate accounts, a random launcher with terrible equipment. Start. Mo Fan didn't look at any of this and entered the room. After a minute, Mo Fan's face was deathly pale. His deception lay dead on the ground. His opponent's health bar hadn't even dropped by 25%. You're not bad. Su Mucheng smiled like a flower just like she had before. Chapter 777. Direct Challenge. Mo Fan was never a nimble speaker. Now it became even more stuttered. He had experienced Su Mucheng's launcher in the game before and had died to her hands. He admitted that her skill level wasn't bad, but it had always been a one versus many situation every time. Yi Shu was also usually among them, so of course, he wasn't too convinced. After seeing Su Mucheng watch TV shows and play flash games all day, he became even more doubtful of Su Mucheng's skill. He started to regard her as just a pretty flower vase. As a result, when he fought against her, he went all out, so he could teach that flower vase a lesson, but contrary to his expectations, it hadn't even been a minute before that flower vase launcher blasted him into smithereens. At Mo Fan's skill level, he could differentiate between a good and bad situation. Halfway through, he realized the flower vase that he wanted to kick to pieces was actually made of metal. She wasn't just there to look pretty. I'm also a pro player, Su Mucheng replied. Pro player. Mo Fan frequently heard this term. He wasn't someone without a conscience. He couldn't help but be a bit curious about it, especially in this type of environment. The ones who he recognized beside him and in the internet cafe all seemed very fascinated with pro players, which puzzled Mo Fan. Is it really that interesting? Recently, Mo Fan constantly thought about this question when he lay in bed, but he wasn't the type of person who would speak his thoughts to others. He quietly observed and paid attention. The others never knew whether he was interested in any of this. Now, a pro player had beaten him senseless in about a minute. This was another huge blow to him. If all pro players were this good, what was the competitive scene like? Mo Fan wouldn't discuss it with anyone. He just pondered over it himself. After Su Mucheng replied, he just sat there dumbly. After a while, he regained his composure and looked to the side. Su Mucheng wasn't paying attention to him anymore. She was watching a TV show again, continuing from where she left off the day before. After sensing Mo Fan staring at her, Su Mucheng didn't turn her head to look back. She poured out a handful of melon seeds onto Mo Fan's table. Mo Fan was used to this kind of scene. He felt like he had expressed his refusal before by not eating them, but Su Mucheng acted like she didn't notice. Whenever she ate any snacks, she would occasionally give him some, but she wasn't always very diligent with it. From time to time, she would forget to give him some. Sometimes, she would be eating and then suddenly remember. Then, she would give him a bit of the snack. She wasn't putting on any fake airs around him. After getting crushed by her, Mo Fan's disdain towards Su Mucheng was completely gone. He even felt like he had been mistaken and felt embarrassed. However, apologizing directly wasn't his style. Finally, Mo Fan extended his hands. He had never eaten anything Su Mucheng had given to him, but this time, he made an exception. He thought it was a way of expressing his goodwill. As he shakily cracked open the melon seeds, Mo Fan glanced at Su Mucheng. Su Mucheng was fully engrossed into her TV show and wasn't paying attention to his side. Mo Fan didn't take the initiative to say anything. He just quietly cracked open all of the melon seeds on his table. In the other room, Chen Guo finally finished explaining her plan. Mo Fan never showed up. No one really bothered with him. Even if he came, he probably wouldn't say anything, so him coming didn't really matter too much. Right now, everyone was reflecting on Chen Guo's plan. How aggressive. I think it's not bad, Wei Chen spoke first. A risky move, Yi Shu said. These two usually shared opinions. Yi Shu didn't need to be mentioned. Everyone knew how sharp he was. No one had any objections if he had the largest voice. As for Wei Chen, his background couldn't compare to Yi Shu's, but he was also their senior. He also prided himself on his seniority, so he had the authority too. As for the others, Tang Ruan and Wen Yi were people with their own thoughts, but because of their unfamiliarity with the pro scene, even if they wanted to say something, they usually wouldn't be the first to speak. Chow Yifan was used to quietly listening on the side. He was the type of person who would only speak if he was called on. Luo Ji didn't say much. As a mathematician, he wasn't too good at things without definite answers. Steamed bun didn't need to be talked about. Anything he said would certainly be interpreting it through an extended meaning of the topic. It was that type of talking about the earth as a star kind of extended meaning too. Anyone else? Chen Guo wanted to hear the opinions of everyone else. Even though she didn't think the others would be any better than Wei Chen's or Yi Shu's. This, and Wen Yi seemed hesitant to speak. If you have something you want to say, just say it. Chen Guo didn't like it when people mumbled. I feel like this approach is kinda similar to cutting off our means of retreat, especially for you. After all, if it doesn't work out for us, there might be other opportunities, but what about your internet cafe? And Wen Yi asked. You're worrying about me? No need, Chen Guo waved her hands, just think about yourself. I have no issues then, and Wen Yi said. What about you, little Tang? Chen Guo asked Tang Ru. Chen Guo knew Tang Ru the best. Even though her understanding of Tang Ru wasn't very thorough, she was still good friends with her. She didn't need her to speak to know how she felt. If you want to do it this way, then let's do it, Tang Ru said. Doing things however you want it to be done. You really are the boss. Steamed Bun jumped up to say something. As expected, his words were way off the mark. Chen Guo never said her word was law. That was what Tang Ru said. Chen Guo could hear Tang Ru's unconditional support and encouragement. She nodded her head and pretended like Steamed Bun didn't exist. When she looked at Chow Yifan and Luo Ji, they suddenly seemed to tense up as if they didn't know what to say. Chen Guo might as well just end it, then I guess it's decided. Haha, now we've really become the villains. Not bad, Wei Chen said. With your shamelessness, of course something as trifling as this wouldn't trouble you, Yi Shu said. No way. The pressure on me definitely isn't as great as it is on you. As excellent Era's former god, I highly suspect that you'll be physically harmed. In the future, when you walk out that door, be careful of stray bricks, Wei Chen said. I just need to be wary of you seizing any opportunities to take revenge and I'll be fine, Yi Shu said. Their trash talk wasn't a good use of their time, so everyone else ended up leaving and returned to the practice room. The real wave started 2 days later. That morning, Chen Guo had the internet cafe employees start arranging things. Boss, are you planning some sort of event? The internet cafe employees asked to see what Chen Guo wanted them to hang up. All of them were stunned. What are you all standing around for? Hurry up and start moving, Chen Guo pointed. Boss, if we hang these up, what about your business? Someone offered a word of advice. I want to see less talking and more action. Even if there's no business, I won't lower your wages, so just do it, Chen Guo said. The internet cafe employees didn't get a percentage of the internet cafe's profits, so what did they need to worry about? Chen Guo was very kind to them and they trusted her, so they immediately started arranging the things that Chen Guo wanted them to. The arrangement was the same as when the internet cafe hosted an event. Everyone was familiar with the procedure, so it was completed quickly. There weren't many customers early in the morning. Even so, Happy Internet Cafe's promotion attracted numerous eyes. Free. This one word was enough to attract the eyes of everyone on the street. It didn't matter if it was real or fake. Those who saw it couldn't help but be curious. Customers could use the computers at Happy Internet Cafe for free. In addition, there was no time limit. It would last up until the start of Glory's new season. The promotion would be for an entire 2 weeks. Those who didn't know about Glory were at a loss. Those who did know about Glory were already talking about this joke. 2 weeks for free? What type of scheme was this? Everyone nowadays was very shrewd. When they saw free, they wouldn't hastily go and enjoy it. Everyone understood the words, there's no such thing as a free lunch. The word free made everyone think that it was some sort of trap. When Happy Internet Cafe's employees were still hanging up the signs, the word free attracted quite a few people. Once they cleared up any questions on their mind, the whole truth was revealed. Those who didn't know about Glory still curiously listened. Those who knew about Glory, especially those who played it and followed the competitive scene, were in an uproar. Why was Happy Internet Cafe going to be free? Because Happy Internet Cafe had created a team. Those 2 weeks of free usage was a send-off to their team before they participated in the Challenger League. Why was the Internet Cafe going so far for their team? Because the team's goal was to enter the pro scene. Could they not see the building right across street from them? F***ck, where'd these nobodies come from? Are they delusional? Someone from the crowd finally cursed. Not only was this person familiar with Glory, but he was certainly an Excellent Era fan too. If not, why would he go so far as to curse out loud? Haha, ignore them. It's just a way to get attention, someone mocked. People will do anything to make a name for themselves in this day and age. Team Happy. I'm terrified. Ha 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 ha. The crowd of Glory players were already starting to discuss with one another. They didn't need to be Excellent Era fans to ridicule Happy. Chen Guo had already expected such a reaction. She didn't fear and calmly responded. She personally stood outside of the entrance and knocked on the billboard. She pointed at the banner hanging above. Our new Team Happy is quite good. We have confidence in making it into the pro scene. Before 9/1, using the computers will be completely free. Friends who are interested may even have a chance to spar with our team. Ha 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 ha, sparring with you nobodies is stupid. Free usage isn't so bad though. Can I just go in and start using a computer? Someone sneered. Chen Guo didn't become angry. She just smiled, of course. Chapter 778. An incomprehensible event. Brothers. Let's go. Let's play for a bit. After hearing Chen Guo's confirmation, some began calling out to others, but it was evident that most of the spectators weren't a part of the same group. Some began to stir, but the vast majority weren't just out for an early morning stroll. They simply saw a commotion going on and stopped to see what was happening. They still needed to go on with their lives. How could they delay their work to take advantage of this small convenience? Only a few ended up entering the internet cafe. Some of these few just came in to take another look. After clicking their tongue in astonishment and seeing that they actually didn't need to pay to use the computers, they continued on with their business. For the first wave of people, the sound of thunder was loud, but the following raindrops were minuscule. Of course, the time of the day was the main reason. Relatively few people walked around so early in the morning. However, as time passed, Happy Internet Cafe became busier and busier. Chen Guo didn't plan on going upstairs to play Glory. She prepared to stay at the front desk and keep watch. Rumors had begun to spread already. Some of the customers came to the place after hearing about it. In the afternoon, even Grand Internet Cafe's owner, Ma Chenyi, personally came to investigate. He stood outside the Internet Cafe entrance, staring at the promotional banner waving around. Chen Guo saw him from the front desk and called out to him, "Hey, it's Boss Ma. What are you standing around for? Come in and have a seat." Ma Chenyi nodded his head. He walked in and looked around. Happy Internet Cafe was completely packed. Ma Chenyi ran an internet cafe too. How could he not know the customer flow at different times of the day? Usually, the period of time between early morning and noon had the least number of customers. However, Happy Internet Cafe was unusually busy, obviously because it was free. This news spread all the way to Ma Chenyi's Grand Internet Cafe. At that time, a few customers directly logged out of their computers and booked it. Of course, not all of them were there to take advantage of the deal. The vast majority of the customers were Glory players. They ran over to Happy Internet Cafe because they were attracted by Happy's ridiculous claim. The gossipers, who spread the rumors, emphasized that Happy Internet Cafe had formed a team, claiming that their goal was to make it into the pro scene. Even ignoring the fact that this season, a powerhouse team like Excellent Era existed, Internet Cafe teams were always there to have fun. How could there not be teams like that? A fair number of Glory players in Grand Internet Cafe were also participating in the Challenger League, but claiming to slaughter their way through to the Pro Alliance, wasn't that too much of a boast? It was already ridiculous even without Excellent Era, but with Excellent Era participating in the Challenger League, it only made Glory players that much more furious. Who didn't know that Team Excellent Era was in the Challenger League this season? You're right across street from the club too. What's the meaning behind making such a claim? This was the real reason why numerous Glory players rushed over. If it was just to say that they were going because it was free would be a bit shameful. It was embarrassing to give that as a reason. Some went because it was free, while others went due to the rumors. Little by little time, Grand Internet Cafe lost most of its customers. Ma Chenyi was also a Glory player, but he mostly played to understand his customers better. When he heard customers talking about the rumors, he immediately guessed that Chen Guo was most likely running a promotion. When he thought about it some more, could this really be considered a promotion? The current internet cafe industry relied on Glory. Chen Guo's move offended these Glory players. In City H, the vast majority of Glory players were fans of Excellent Era. It wasn't just because of Team Excellent Era's achievements. The team was also located in City H. This kind of regional advantage couldn't be ignored because fans gathered from the region were always the most loyal. Even when the team was in dire straits, they were willing to stay with the team. They felt a deep connection with the team and tied their team together with their hometown. Ma Chenyi pondered over it and felt like it didn't make sense, but seeing that his side didn't have many customers and that his employees were lying on the table, dozing off, he woke them up to keep watch and then went over to Happy to investigate. After carefully taking a look from the entrance, he discovered that the rumors he heard from Grand Internet Cafe weren't exaggerated one bit. Happy Internet Cafe had formed a team and their statement was very clear and straightforward. The only thing it didn't do was directly mention Excellent Era. Boss Chen, what are you trying to do? I don't understand. Ma Chenyi entered. Chen Guo had personally come over to greet him. She obviously knew he wasn't here to use a computer. I saw you standing around outside for a while. Did I not write it clearly enough? Chen Guo chuckled. It's clear, but I really don't understand the meaning hidden inside, Ma Chenyi said. Boss Ma, you're too suspicious. There's no hidden meaning. It's just as you see, Chen Guo said. Just as I see, Ma Chenyi stared blankly. You actually think your team can make it into the pro scene? Are you joking? Not at all. That's really what I think, Chen Guo smiled. Ma Chenyi was somewhat confused. Chen Guo was his competitor. They often came into conflict with each other. However, Ma Chenyi felt like Chen Guo wasn't anyone shrewd. Whatever she said was what she truly meant. She was a very straightforward person. If Chen Guo said there was no other hidden meaning, then she probably wasn't lying, but it was just too incomprehensible. He couldn't believe it even if you beat him to death. I say, Ma Chenyi was still suspicious. Last time, when we bet, you indeed had a few experts. Their skill level seemed quite good. In the past, if your team participated in the Challenger League with those experts, I would actually bet money on them making it through, but this time, Excellent Era is participating. Even if your team has some real skill, you don't actually think they could beat a team with 3 all-stars, right? We've never fought against them before. How do you know it's impossible? In order to find out a winner in Glory, you have to fight to actually know, Chen Guo said. Your words aren't wrong, but that's when both sides are fairly even. Your team is about as good as Team Excellent Era. Neither of us like to mince words when we talk to each other, so I won't be polite. If you had such a team, I doubt they'd be under your control. Your internet cafe, is it worth more than the price of a single all-star? Ma Chenyi said, while sizing up Happy Internet Cafe. Nothing's absolute, Chen Guo laughed. Ma Chenyi trusted in Chen Guo's character. He believed that Chen Guo wouldn't dupe him. She seemed to be very certain about her unimaginable claim. There was only one possibility. Che Guo had a trump card that he didn't know about. He and Chen Guo weren't strangers, but as competitors, their relationship wasn't great. If the other side wasn't going to take the initiative to say it, Ma Chenyi reckoned that he wouldn't be able to get an answer, even if he asked. As a result, he didn't say much more. He turned his head to look at the busy Happy Internet Cafe and then said, Are you really planning on keeping this up until the start of the new season? Yeah, Chen Guo nodded her head. Then it seems like I'll have to take a break for half a month, Ma Chenyi said. That might not be necessary. My place is already full. It's almost peak hours. There definitely won't be enough seats. At that time, there'll definitely be people coming over to your place. I say, why don't you do the same promotion as me? Chen Guo said. Stop joking. Why should I be as crazy as you? Ma Chenyi said. Then don't regret it, Chen Guo said. More like you'd better not regret it. I'm quite interested in seeing what you'll be doing next. Ma Chenyi waved his hands. I'll be going. I'll go back and see if there needs to be any work done on the internet cafe. Using this half a month, I'll see if I can renovate. Take care. I won't be sending you off, Chen Guo said. No need. You're so busy. How could you possibly have time to spare, Ma Chenyi said and then left. Happy Internet Cafe was still packed. Some came in because it was free, but the majority of customers came because they were unconvinced by Happy's claim. They went on the computers for free, while mocking Happy for not knowing the difference between heaven and earth. These people weren't here to try out the computers at the Internet Cafe. They enjoyed the free usage, while looking down on Happy's promotion. They came in to laugh at Happy. They said whatever bad thing you could think of, leaving those who didn't understand Glory stunned. What's going on? The Internet Cafe was allowing them to use the computers for free, yet people were still ridiculing them. The other customers couldn't wrap their heads around it. They didn't understand, but they didn't need to. Chen Guo was mentally prepared for the insults and mockery coming her way, so she calmly sat there. A few who recognized Chen Guo would sometime laugh at her. Boss, where's your champion team? You're not going to bring them out for everyone to see? Yeah, we're here because of the rumors. We need to get a signature before we go. Maybe next year it'll be worth a lot of money. What are you saying? What do you mean maybe? You mean definitely. All sorts of yelling bombarded her, but Chen Guo was uncharacteristically in a good mood. She just smiled, patiently replying to their insincere questions. She answered, the team is currently practicing. It's not convenient for them to come out and meet everyone. They're even practicing. How professional, someone hollered, followed by a roar of laughter. Boss, it says outside that apart from being able to use the computers for free, we can have a chance to spar with the team. We've used the computers enough already. We're waiting to spar with them. You're not going to say, using the computers is free, but you have to pay money to spar them, right? F***CK, could that be the real reason for this event? Then I'd better run. The price for a champion team to come out must be really high. Can we afford it? Another roar of laughter. Chen Guo waited for the laughter to die down, before replying, if you want to spar with them, just wait until nighttime. Chapter 779. Who's going up to slap their face? At Happy Internet Cafe, all sorts of terrible insults were thrown around. Many of the Internet Cafe customers wouldn't stop. Chen Guo handled the situation calmly though. One reason was because she was mentally prepared. A second reason was because she understood the passion of the fans. If it had been her from the past, if some random internet cafe claimed that their team would defeat Excellent Era and make it into the pro scene, she too would definitely have laughed at their arrogance. Chen Guo relied on putting herself in their shoes to mentally prepare herself. As a result, she faced the mock and ridicule coming her way with great interest. Many people's talents would burst out at these moments. It was a curious occurrence. The internet cafe was packed since noon. Quite a few people even lined up, asking when a computer would be open to use. The internet cafe employees could only helplessly shrug their shoulders. Free usage with no limit. They wouldn't know when someone would leave. Order could still be kept though. Even though customers didn't need to pay, they still needed to register before using a computer, so there was still an order to customers coming and going. However, the majority of customers were here to stir up trouble. How could they be eager to comply? Quite a few of the employees suffered numerous grievances. In the end, Chen Guo had to work hard to keep her employees calm. Night fell. The internet cafe was at its peak hours. Several people discovered that Happy Internet Cafe had a promotion going on. Unfortunately, there were no seats open in Happy. Ma Chenyi acted as if his business couldn't survive if Chen Guo kept up this promotion, but it wasn't actually that exaggerated. If there wasn't enough room for 2 internet cafes on one street, one of them would have closed down a long time ago. Both of their internet cafes were close to Club Excellent Era, so their business was exceptionally good. Who didn't have a computer at this day and age? However, many were still willing to come to an internet cafe with their friends to play, or perhaps they met friends in the internet cafe and frequently played together there. People could communicate online, but it was a different feeling, sitting together in real life. Happy Internet Cafe was packed with no seats open. In the end, many people had to go to Grand Internet Cafe. There was nothing to worry about. Tonight, even though there weren't any seats left, many people still stayed around because it was rumored that this arrogant team would come out and spar with them. A good deal of Glory players had been suppressing their anger all day, waiting to give this team a serious beating. After supper time passed, someone shouted, "Boss, when is your team coming out to spar with us? Do you have a precise time?" 7:30, Chen Guo said. It wasn't long until 7:30 came. Some watched the time go by second by second. When it was finally time, they immediately started shouting. Many players had heard the news and stopped by the internet cafe to take a look, but when they saw the situation, they found it difficult to stay. It wasn't convenient for them to even watch. Boss Chen was considerate though. Once the clock hit 7:30, she immediately had her employees take out the large screen projector. Frequent Happy Internet Cafe customers knew what was going on. Happy Internet Cafe really wasn't afraid of others watching. When they saw this action, quite a few players started to lose confidence. None of them believed that this team could actually beat Excellent Era, but it was hard to say if they could cause any trouble for this team. Seeing that the other side appeared fearless, they really weren't sure. Everyone here was just a normal player. After thinking about it, if the other side was actually so shameless as to make such a claim despite being unable to clean up random guys like them, then wouldn't that be too embarrassing? Chen Guo wasn't trying to figure out their thoughts. After setting everything up, she smiled at the impatient bunch. "Are you guys ready? Where's your team?" The crowd looked around. "In the arena. Does it need to be face to face?" Chen Guo laughed. Everyone listened, so it turns out the other side wouldn't even be appearing. They would only be online. An already unconfident guy used this pretext to make a fuss. F***ck, they actually think they're some big shot. This senior won't stand for it. This person was the first to leave. After stomping out of the place, he sneaked back into the crowd to watch the upcoming show. Everyone's here to play Glory. There's no need to do anything offline. Many of the rounds in the Challenger League are played online anyways, Chen Guo said and pointed to the projection screen. "I've already set up all of this so that everyone can see. It can't be that no one's going to step forward for the challenge, right? Weren't you guys yelling all afternoon? You there. You're not coming?" Chen Guo directly pointed out the person with the loudest voice. How could she not have an impression of anyone? She remembered them very clearly. This old bro felt his heart thumping. He didn't think that the other side would be so evil as to point him out. Just as he was about to make an excuse, the people who had been hollering with him were also evil. They saw that they hadn't been picked and that they wouldn't be embarrassed, so they started egging him on. Go up, go up. What's there to be afraid of? Go." This old bro was furious. He now had a better understanding of the phrase, "the shot hits the bird that pokes its head out." However, since he had been picked out, it would be too shameful to back out. Anything he said would be treated as an excuse. How could he lose face? No choice. I'll have to brace myself and do it. I'll go. This brother finally stepped forward. He didn't dare to make any claims though. He first tried to play things down. "This little brother isn't very good. My equipment isn't good either. I'll be a warm-up." "Haha, it's just a spar. It doesn't matter if you're good or bad. There's no such thing as not being allowed to play because you're bad," Chen Guo remarked. This older bro felt like Chen Guo's words sounded very reasonable and pleasing. For the first time, he returned a thanks and then asked, "Which room?" The arena room had obviously been created already. Chen Guo and Yi Shu were in contact with each other. The projector screen showed the battle from a spectator view. Everyone soon saw which character the team put out. Battle Mage, Soft Mist. Soft Mist was actually quite famous, but that was only in the upper echelons in the game. She was bound with Yi Shu, so the club guilds kept an eye on her too. For normal players, the name Soft Mist didn't ring any bells. Chen Guo didn't know if there were any club guild members among the crowd, but it didn't seem like there was any reaction. Once that old bro's character entered the room, the two began fighting. Numerous people had been waiting all day for this face-slapping moment to come. They watched the fight attentively and the internet cafe became abnormally quiet. Only the sounds of battle could be heard, the sound of flesh getting butchered. This old bro was being torn apart by this battle mage. He lost shortly afterwards. He lost so badly that no one could say anything. It was a perfect victory. The old bro failed to even touch the other side. Happy Internet Cafe was silent. They were waiting for the face-slapping moment, but it turned out that it was their faces instead. Their skill level wasn't high enough. In the end, the loudest of them was picked to come out. As expected, the face slapper was sliced up by the other side's spear. A perfect victory was a slap to their face. Slap slap. It seems I'm not good enough. Who's up next? This old bro stood up. He was a classic example of someone who could only talk big. He despised Team Happy's intentions, but when it was time for him to come out, he couldn't back it up. If he was actually an expert, even if he couldn't beat Tang Ru, it wouldn't have ended in a perfect victory for her. This guy was truly lacking. The internet cafe instantly became quiet once more. To be honest, they couldn't tell how good the other battle mage was from the previous fight. All they could tell was that she wasn't weak. No one had any confidence in beating her. The attempt at slapping the other side's face had been reversed. It was best if someone else did it. It was better to be careful. The previously loud crowd had been given a chance to embarrass the other side, but now they suddenly cowered. They still felt like Team Happy was shameless, but they weren't good enough to expose the other side's facade. They could only wave their flags and shout battle cries, hoping some god would descend upon those fools, but right now, everyone was looking at one another. It seemed like everyone was just a flagbearer. Is that it? Chen Guo was delighted, making everyone feel extremely unhappy. They were furious, but they couldn't say anything back. If the other side said, "Oh, then you go up," what could you do? You couldn't say, "I'm not a good player, but I have good eyes." You would just be talking big. It was no different from getting your face slapped. I'll try. Someone finally came out. Everyone was excited. At this moment, if someone dared to jump out, he must be an expert with a lot of confidence, right? Everyone excitedly watched this person enter the room. They looked at his equipment. It wasn't anything glamorous though. Then, they saw the fight. This person was a little bit better than the other guy, but it was just a little bit. Not long afterwards, he fell. It wasn't a perfect victory for the other side at least. Everyone was speechless. After being slapped in the face several times in a row, their faces had lost all color. But the issue was that they didn't have the ability to do anything about it and even complained that the guy who jumped out had overestimated himself. One person was enough to be a warm-up. Being whipped by the other side was equivalent to everyone being whipped. Everyone was together. Did you not understand? But they discovered that this guy truly didn't understand. After losing, he didn't seem embarrassed at all. He felt it was very natural. Wow, wow. Can I try again? Everyone suddenly understood. It seemed like this person wasn't here to jeer at the other side. He was actually here to practice with the team. Chapter 780. Search 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 for an expert. There were quite a few rowdy players, but not everyone. There were still a few rational ones. Just like this one here. Even though it wasn't a perfect victory for the other side again, it wasn't much better. But since he wasn't trying to slap the other side's face, he wouldn't feel embarrassed for losing. He wasn't the type of person who felt like he was unrivaled under the heavens. Losing a few rounds in the arena was very normal. After losing a round, this person still wanted another. Chen Guo did an object. The challenger pressed ready and Tang Ru started the match. She went all out like before and the challenger lost again. Amazing. Too amazing. The challenger praised sincerely, making the others in the crowd feel incredibly uncomfortable. But what could they do? This person didn't have the same mindset as them. What could they criticize him for? He lost 2 rounds and then praised Team Happy. That wasn't what they wanted to see. They wanted to expose Team Happy's feebleness and show that even a 3-year-old kid could mash the keyboard and win. Even though that obviously wasn't possible, they could still dream. Is this guy someone they set up? There was always someone shameless in the crowd, who would think about things from the most detestable perspective. Some people even supported this idea and nodded their heads. It must be. Chen Guo started asking again, is there anyone else? Is there anyone else? What's going on? Where'd your enthusiasm during the daytime go? Chen Guo said questioningly, but everyone could hear the ridicule in her voice. Her look of honesty didn't agree with her words, making it seem all the more vengeful. How many people are in your team? What's the point if it's always an individual competition? Can your team play a group arena or team competition? Someone suddenly asked. This brother's head was turning. He suddenly thought, what if Team Happy only had a single expert to scare everyone? If that was the case, then if they played a group arena or team competition, wouldn't that expose the other side's trick? When he asked these questions, several others immediately understood his intent. They started getting excited again. They didn't wait for Chen Guo to reply and started chiming in, yeah. Can't we play a group arena or a team competition? It's more fun with more people. Sure, Chen Guo grinned. Everyone heard her answer and their hearts fell. *T. It looks like the fox isn't exploiting the tiger's might. They're the real deal. Group arena or team competition? You guys can pick, Chen Guo said. They had already reached this step, they couldn't back out now. Everyone began looking at each other. They had gathered at this internet cafe for a single reason. Most of them didn't know each other, so they wouldn't know each other's skill level and glory. They needed to form a team, but no one knew who to pick. Finally, someone stood out. I'll go. Then I'll go too. I'll go as well. As soon as one person stood out, others soon followed. In the blink of an eye, 3 people volunteered themselves forward. It was just enough people for a group arena round. 3 people. Group arena? Chen Guo said and sent a text on her cell phone. The arena room quickly changed to a group arena format. Following Soft Mist, a Brawler Steamed Bun Invasion and a Warlock Windward formation stepped onto stage. As soon as they saw the lineup, many of them immediately thought, not good. Soft Mist was put first. She had practically achieved perfect victories against those 2 challengers, which meant she would be around full health against the third. It would a 1v3. Soft Mist's skill level was quite high. If their team couldn't get past her, they wouldn't have any way of exposing the people behind her. How good was their side? Probably better than the last 2 challengers, right? Could they take down Soft Mist? Unwittingly, no one was thinking about whether they could win the match, but rather if those 3 could even beat Soft Mist. Their predictions came true. Sure enough, all 3 challengers lost to Soft Mist. These 3 were indeed better than the last 2, but the 3 could only take off half of Soft Mist's health. If this continued, Soft Mist would have no problems with a 1v6. It was a 1v3. Even if they didn't want to believe it, she must be an expert. In the normal player circle, having half health remaining in a 1v3 would only happen when an experienced player fought against beginners. The gap between them could clearly be seen. Since Happy Internet Cafe dared to make such an arrogant claim, it seemed like they had indeed prepared well. Trying to challenge them was truly too naive. When Chen Guo asked if anyone was up for a team competition, no one uttered a sound. In the end, someone asked if they could fight someone else other than Soft Mist. Chen Guo happily agreed. In the end, Steamed Bun Invasion came out. Everyone was finally completely convinced they alone couldn't overturn Happy Internet Cafe. Happy had at least come prepared and wouldn't be humiliated so easily. That night, only players, who weren't looking to stir trouble, gave it a try, and ended up praising Team Happy. In the end, those more extreme players were left in silence. The previous few, who were talented at insults, had already disappeared. Chen Guo saw crowd die down and asked, "Is there anyone else?" 3 times. After seeing that there was no response, she had her employees put away the projector. At the end, she said to everyone, "You're welcome to come again tomorrow." The crowd was furious. Without an expert, what was the point in coming again tomorrow? For them, they parted the place on bad terms tonight. The crowd all left at practically the same time. They failed to meet their goal, so what was the point in staying? They weren't here to take advantage of the free usage, but because of their dislike for Happy Internet Cafe. After leaving the Internet Cafe, talents from the crowd started cursing again. But no matter how much they cursed, they had to admit that Happy Internet Cafe had found impressive players. These people couldn't bear it though. For a moment, everyone began talking about what experts they knew and how skilled these experts were, pointing out how could they crush 8 Soft Mists. No one took any notice of the brags. The more serious ones truly wanted to see if they could find any experts to challenge Happy Internet Cafe. They hated to see such shamelessness and arrogance. In the end, they narrowed it down to a few dependable experts. The more reliable players left their contact info and prepared to contact these experts, asking them to come over and take down Happy Internet Cafe. The next day, Happy Internet Cafe was as crowded as the previous day. The crowd of unruly players had been pushed back yesterday, but there were still no lack of them today. What happened the second day and the first day were extraordinarily similar. There were players mocking and ridiculing Happy Internet Cafe's team from early in the morning. Chen Guo continued to handle the situation calmly, telling them they could spar the team at night. At night, the unruly crowd excitedly tried to take down the team, but were trashed instead. They once again left dejectedly. After exiting the internet cafe, they cursed together and started thinking of experts, who could squish those experts with a single finger. Third day, fourth day. The majority of players came arrogantly and left dejectedly. By the fifth day, news of Happy Internet Cafe's team had spread online, attracting widespread attention. A team right across street from Club Excellent Era, planning on making their way through the Challenger League into the pro scene, was quite amusing. But in the very beginning, everyone including the posters treated it as a joke. Everyone was laughing at this unknown internet cafe for using such a stupid method to promote themselves. Did they not know that offending so many Glory fans would actually end up hurting their business? Did they actually think their infamy would make their business prosper? Did they not care about their reputation? Everyone laughed, while waiting for Happy to be slapped in the face. But 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days passed. On the 5th day, more and more people couldn't stand it anymore. This team Happy really did have some skill. Some were already making guesses. Could this be Excellent Era's work? After all, Excellent Era wouldn't receive as much attention in the Challenger League. Hyping their team up in this way could be considered a method. While others were arguing online, some decent players finally showed up on the 5th day. The crowd had been losers for the past several days. In the end, after much discussion, they were able to contact a real expert. Speaking of which, it was that easy to find people in the scene. On the first, second, and third day, these people were all normal players, who didn't know each other. But after searching for experts together and holding meetings, they became close. These experts had seen the rumors online, and now that people had come looking for them, they felt like they should come out, take care of things. You're looking. We're looking. We come together and look together. At around 7 in Happy Internet Cafe, 8 rumored experts came. They even had 2 more than what was needed to play a team competition. These 8 experts felt like even though they couldn't compare to pro players, they were still big figures in the Glory community. As soon as they announced their IDs, everyone paid their respects. The players who invited them were running around like servants, completely forgetting how they had left Happy Internet Cafe crestfallen these past few days. One of them saw Chen Guo and immediately went over to issue a challenge. The 8 experts had been told about this internet cafe's boss. Their eyes lit up. A beauty. One of them immediately rushed forward and followed after the person, who went looking for Chen Guo. They reached there together. That person gave him a glance and gave an introduction. This is Flying Cloud Internet Cafe's Easy Bro. I'm sure you've heard of him before, boss.